A beta tester dropped their full review on Skirk, and honestly, it's pretty wild. If you've been thinking about pulling for Skirk, you absolutely need to hear this, because there are some big limitations to her team comps that you should know about. We've also got the lowdown on how she stacks up against current top-tier characters like Mavika and Arleino. Seriously, stick around for the whole video, because this is going to be crucial for your pulling decisions. Who else is trying to pull for their favorite character, but the Primo Gems just aren't enough? Don't worry, I've got a way to save money and get double the Genesis crystals. This is Lootbar.gg. It works just like the in-game top-up system, but with up to 25% off, and new users even get a 10% extra discount. See this? The regular $100 pack only costs $81 on Lootbar, and each update they release an exclusive $72 bundle available for your first purchase every version. All you need is your UID. No password, no login. Just pick your bundle, select your server, and your crystals get delivered in about 5 minutes. Lootbar has awesome reviews. It's fast, secure, and trusted by tons of players. If you're planning to recharge for Genshin or Star Rail, don't waste your money. Click the link in the description or pinned comment and top up now with Lootbar. Safe, fast, and way more affordable. And don't miss that 10% off while it lasts. So, I've been digging into the transcript of this Skirk review from the beta tester, and here's the gist. Overall, the testing experience with Skirk in this beta has been pretty satisfying. Of course, it wasn't flawless, but any issues that popped up were pretty reasonable, and given Skirk's overall performance, seemed minor and easy to overlook. What everyone, including me, expected from Skirk was raw, formidable power, the kind of strength we've seen in the story where she just effortlessly takes down enemies. And in that sense, Skirk definitely lives up to those expectations. Now for the nitty-gritty on performance. A C6 Skirk, C6 Fina, C6 Shenhi, and C1 R1 Escopia team actually showed damage output that was only one tier below a C6 Mavika, C6 Sitli, C2 Zillonen, and C6 Bennett team. That's insane! It even outperformed teams built around both Alakino and Nevellet. In fact, because Mavika's team has some issues with Bennett's limited skill range, Skirk's team actually gains a point there. At C0, Skirk doesn't quite match Mavika's strength, but she's still on par with, or even slightly stronger than characters like Arleino and Newlet. Releasing a character that could outright surpass Mavika in version 5.x would cause some serious problems, so I think Skirk's placement, kind of like other Harbinger-tier characters debuting in 5.x, is perfectly calibrated. However, there's a pretty big catch to Skirk's performance. On her own, she's almost completely ineffective. While this is a common issue for many hypercarry characters, it's particularly severe with Skirk. For example, Mavika has access to multiple elemental reactions like vaporize, melt, and burning, and Arleino can still do well even with lower-tier supports if the ideal ones aren't available. But Skirk? She's all about freeze. Without key characters like Escopia and Shenhi, her performance just tanks. Her team structure is incredibly rigid, and swapping in lower-tier supports causes a sharp decline in overall team performance. Escopia, in particular, could almost be considered Skirk's true signature support. If you're planning to pull for Skirk, you absolutely must have Escopia. The damage difference between a team with Escopia and one without is so significant, it's almost catastrophic. I really don't think the developers intend to decouple Skirk's performance from Escopia support. If they did, there would be no reason to have created or sold Escopia in the first place. So it's probably something we'll just have to accept. If you do have Escopia though, team building becomes much more flexible. A team with Skirk, Escopia, and Fina can fill its slot with characters like Shenhi, Sitli, Xilonen, or Xingqiu. Sitli is also great in Mavika's team, but she can perform just as well with Skirk. She can transfer both the Cinder City effect and the Dragon Slayer buff to Skirk. However, aside from those two effects, most of Sitli's utility would be wasted in a Skirk team, so it's better to pair her with Mawa if you have that option. Meanwhile, Xilonen helps fill in the gaps in Skirk's DPS rotation. So, that's the end of the Skirk transcript, and what can we take away from all of this? Well, comparing Skirk's C6 team to Mavika's C6 team, we now know that Skirk is just one tier below Mavika, who's currently the top DPS in the game for that kind of team comp. Skirk also outperforms teams based on Arleino or Nevellet, which are arguably strong contenders. You do have to remember that while this performance is with insane teams like C6 Furina, C6 Shenhi, C1 Escopia, all the other teams she was compared to were also C6. So, if we brought all of this down to C0 with R0, or even without a signature weapon, it could still be a similar comparison point. It's definitely nice to hear that Skirk is going to live up to her hype. She's set to be one of the best DPS characters in the game if she's paired with the right team comp and built correctly. But, and this is a really big but, one of the major takeaways here is that you absolutely need Escoffier. From the beta tester's perspective, he basically said that if you don't have Escoffier paired with Skirk, she's nearly ineffective. The difference in damage between having Escoffier in your team with Skirk and not having her is so significant that it could devalue Skirk by possibly a whole tier. This is all thanks to the Hydro Cryo Shred that Escoffier offers in her passive talent, as well as all her buffs. So, if you've been saving for Skirk, it might be a good idea to consider sacrificing some of the Primogems you were planning to spend on her weapon and instead invest them in Escoffier. I know it's super annoying having to pull for a character right before a new one comes out, especially with all the diminished weapon ascension materials and character leveling up materials you'll face. Your Mora is just gonna disappear. But this is the sacrifice we might have to make. Speaking of pulling, let's talk about the confirmed 5.7 banner lineup, because obviously if you're pulling for Skirk, you'll want to know who else will be around and what other opportunities you might have, including the 4-star characters. So first off, in Phase 1 of 5.7, we'll have Skirk, our brand new character that everyone wants to pull for. And then we have Emily, who is another solid sub-DPS, but if you're focusing on Hydro and Cryo characters for your Skirk team, you probably shouldn't pull for her. In the second phase, we've got Mavika, likely her rerun for a while, considering the Natlan era is ending. She might return in a year or less, but Archons usually take longer to rerun than other characters. Especially in 6.x, when so many new characters are coming out, it'll be tough for them to fit characters like Mavika in. And we also have Shenhi, which is actually perfect timing because if you didn't know, Shenhi is going to be a really good support to pair with Skirk. So this is a great opportunity to start building a team comp for Skirk if you want both Skirk and Shenhi, especially with Shenhi being in the second phase. But again, that's just so many Primogems to spend. As for the 4 stars we currently have on the banner, the only one we know about right now is Dahlia. Alright everyone, if you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to click that bell next to my name and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on future updates. And please, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you found most interesting about Skirk's review. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.